This week on Great Chat, we discuss what we're thankful for with a focus on our careers. But it's not the shiny accolades, it's the things we didn't expect and the people who helped along the way. I'm Ashley, and this week I'm joined by Helen and Mac. Great Chat is brought to you by Mercury, the fintech used by entrepreneurs through every stage of company building. We use Mercury to run this podcast and love recommending it to other founders and fund managers. Try it for yourself. Visit mercury.com to join over 200,000 entrepreneurs who use Mercury to make managing their money unbelievably simple. Hey guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello. Happy almost Thanksgiving.
My first meeting this morning was a tour of everyone's childhood bedrooms.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was like, wait, what? Oh, yeah.
On
That's
Zoom.
right.
Exactly, because everybody's
okay.
back home. Oh, sorry. Yeah, maybe you should have added a little bit of context.
No, exactly.
Cool.
Different kind of coworker bonding. Got it.
Exactly.
Got it.
This is what we're just like really, really close. No, everyone is like working remote, and they're all working remote from their childhood bedrooms. It's really funny because like the walls are thin and people are like, I can hear my brother, it's great.
I just cannot relate. I moved like 12 times before going to college. And so the idea of still having like an intact childhood bedroom does not compute. I can't even imagine.
Moving 12 times is crazy.
My dad was very millennial, and he listens to this podcast. So hi, Dad. I'm not too damaged.
Wait, he was millennial. He was like, he was remote working.
No, he
was living
like,
a portfolio life.
I guess there have been many eras of millennial, but like, do you remember when we were younger? It was like, oh, millennials change jobs like every 2 years, and that was
and
like
addresses. Yeah.
My dad was just very like ambitious and willing to like move us around the country, and
sweet.
And as a result, no childhood bedroom for me.
My parents also live in the house that I did not grow up in, so it's like bizarro town as well.
My parents live in the same house, but my bedroom is now a yoga studio. So
amazing.
Wow.
Do you do yoga in there?
No, but Mom does.
Okay, so I feel like the Rippling Deel saga has been a consistent theme throughout seasons and throughout Mac episodes. So the update this week or last week was
Mac just loves her HR tech.
I know, she loves it. Last week, I guess there was some advancement or something that happened in the courts, but the chief legal officer at Rippling like took to LinkedIn and wrote a post about what that victory was, and also shared like screenshots with like arrows and pieces from the court filing.
Oh yeah, it was something about how like the money was transferred from like the business account into someone's wife's account, and so it was basically linking up that this was all like company sponsored and there was a trail.
Yeah, and like LinkedIn was interesting. It got a lot of engagement, but like it also felt like people were so desensitized by it.
Even on LinkedIn? Like, I feel like LinkedIn is so earnest. I would expect them to be scandalized on LinkedIn.
Most of the comments were like other attorneys that probably follow her and like live not in Silicon Valley who are like, wow, thanks for the transparency. Because let's be honest, it is wild that like a general counsel gets on LinkedIn and starts sharing pieces, right?
That's
like,
great. I love this for her.
And then I don't really feel like there was a peep on Twitter. So I don't know. Do people not care? Because I feel like we've brought that up on the pod as well. Like, does nobody care about bad behavior anymore? Like, is it they're over it? Or somebody made this point where it was like, well, Deel keeps posting W's in terms of like growth and revenue. And it's like, maybe that's all people care about. Like so yeah.
I mean, I think it's worth remembering people really cared initially. Like when Parker dropped the honeypot reveal, everyone like lost their minds. And so I wonder if part of this is just we're on like chapter 10 of this saga, and the new details aren't like as fun as someone like hiding in a bathroom with a cell phone and like some of the early drama. So I do think I get why Parker is still on this quest, but I think for the rest of us, if you're not in that particular universe, it's a little bit less exciting. But Helen, it reminds me, I was listening to Hard Fork, and Casey Newton and Kevin Roos interviewed the CEO of Roblox. And it's an interesting interview only because it seemed that there was some misalignment about the topic. Like,
Totally.
they thought, based on conversations with his PR team, that they were talking about like child safety on Roblox and like what the company was doing to address some recent issues. And he thought he was just coming to hang out. And so it was like a little awkward at times. But Casey wrote an essay yesterday after that was basically like, do tech CEOs have no shame anymore? And what does it mean when there's like no shame left in the tech ecosystem? Because this CEO just kind of refused, David, I forgot his last name, just refused to like even say the things you would expect someone to say, which is like, we need to do everything possible to protect children. And you know, he just wanted to hang. He
was like, nah, fuck them kids. Let's get back.
It was just like, it was as a former comms person, I was like, I could have given you some talking points. Like, you know, there's some basic things to say. And he seemed very like frustrated that he was being asked these questions. And so, you know, this is a part of the same thread of like, if business is going well, and your customers don't seem to be concerned or even aware, like, do we care anymore? And I thought Casey's essay was like a really good zoomed out view of, you know, where we might be from like a tech and morality perspective.
I saw it covered, like maybe briefly. I did not listen to the episode, but I saw a little bit of the fallout. And the comment that I saw was somebody saying, this comms person thought that this would be a good softball interview format, like a la 20-minute VC or TVPN. And it wasn't, you know, like they came prepared with hard questions. So just a reminder, everyone, the New York Times is not a softball interview. And it's like, and actually that connected the dots. Hard Fork is a New York Times podcast. Like, and yes, and Casey and Kevin are real journalists, right? Like it's,
Although as someone who like listened to the whole thing, they also were not like going for the kill in any way. Like, they thought that there was an agreed upon topic and it was going to be child safety and what Roblox was doing. And they were like asking questions. And of course, Casey, platformer, is all about like the intersection of tech and like regulatory and safety and all of that. So he's like just like deeply embedded in this world. So Hard Fork is they ask like interesting questions and real questions, but it's not, you know, it's not the hot seat. I don't know. I would love the behind the scenes of like what went wrong with like the PR pitch and the CEO brief. And there was clearly some misalignment there.
Another one that we had in the group chat this week was Sally sharing a bunch of Nano Banana images and being like, I can't tell if this is real or fake. And then one of us pointing out like, okay, this is obviously fake. Do you guys have like a trick or something that you consistently look for in these sort of images where it can tell you it's because it used to be the like 6 fingers, right? It used to be like the weird hands.
Just look at the hands.
Yeah. But now I feel like they fixed the hands. And so you have to look for other things. And so I think maybe we pointed out like height differences. But
that was me. They were also all wearing the same shoes. This was, in case people have seen it, it was like a photo, in quotes, of like, you know, Sundar and Tim Cook and Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg and Jensen, like all like hanging out. There were like 7 or 8 of them. And Sally's like, I can't tell if this is real. And I was like, well, I know most of these dudes are like 5'7", and then some of them are tall, because it's like a meme that like powerful men are like 5'7".
Oh yeah, 5'7".
It's a thing.
That's right.
It's a thing.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, well, Tim Cook's not 5'7", and Sundar is not 5'7", and Elon's not 5'7", but they all kind of look like the same height. So I knew it was bullshit. And then like 4 of them were wearing the exact same shoes, which just seems unlikely.
Is it just me, or is it like so low imagination to put all those tech luminaries together in a Nano Banana photo? I would want to put way crazier combinations and have like much wilder.
Oh, Helen, I want to see your Nano Bananas.
No, I literally haven't tried yet, but I don't know. Like Mac, who would you put together?
I think it was perfectly designed for the audience. Like they
For
knew
the
what would
audience,
perform on
pandering to the
Twitter. Yeah.
audience. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I guess, like it's not for me. I'm not target audience, but like you're not target audience. But I think like,
Yeah.
the crazy amount of engagement, the fact that we're even talking about it means that people knew what would get people started.
I don't know, guys. I fantasize about all these titans of industry hanging out in a parking lot wearing the same shoes.
Totally.
Like,
when I go to bed at
really
night, I'm like,
gets me
ooh, I
going.
hope
Just
I
like
have a
us.
dream. I have a dream with all of these characters in it.
I mean,
Um,
it's very predictable.
totally. Has anyone caught up all the way and paid for the Ryan Lizza Substack subscription for parts 2 and 3?
Part 1 was enough for me.
Does anyone else feel kind of icky? Like I feel like I'm getting, like when you have two friends break up and you're like, oh wow, I really like both of you. And then they both start telling you things and you're like, oh God, I wish I could unhear this shit. Like there's some stuff where I've seen like screenshots and whatever. And I'm just like, oh God, I could have gone my whole life without ever reading this.
Well, I was more curious on like how do you sustain this as like a paid Substack strategy, right? Like,
oh, I think he has to know that it's a moment, right? Ideally he has readers who do love his content, but I think and hopefully some of the people who came for the drama stick around beyond. I think that has to be
sure.
it, right?
But how do you even match?
Also, everything that I'm seeing, it feels less about like monetizing the moment, although that seems like a nice side effect, and more about getting revenge on the ex who cheated.
And
That
inserting
seems to me
himself
more what it's about. Yeah.
into the news cycle, which would not be my preference, but he's going for it. I read the first one and then I saw someone referring to some term that's used in the second one. It was like, you don't want to know what this is. And I was like, you know what?
Clickbait.
I don't want to know what that is. Like,
exactly. I haven't Googled it either.
It is a choice to not know something, and I choose it sometimes.
I'm just going to say you guys made the right decision. Like I said, I wish I could bleach my eyeballs. I wish I could go backwards to a time that existed before I knew all this shit. I'm just like, oh God, like I don't need to be in someone else's bedroom. Like I just don't want to know. God, to your earlier point about like, do tech bros feel, or do tech CEOs feel no shame? Can we all feel a little shame? Can we all just kind of like keep it to ourselves? Like
maybe
that will be
this kind of comes. So like one thing I was reflecting on this week after with all of the articles that we've been sharing and with some of the stuff that we've been talking about is I think like there was a moment where it was really novel and really refreshing to see Silicon Valley enter into the scene with this like youth forward energy. And it probably was because I was young. I think part of it too was because it was so deeply refreshing to like have people out there succeeding despite being, not a buttoned up suit. It felt inclusive. It felt like actually genuinely new. Now, given the stakes of what we're up against, given the stakes of this moment, given the realities between what was promised in the tech world and the tech revolution and what has actually been delivered, what was promised, disruptive industries, better jobs, better more prosperity, easier workflows. It turns out that work is still just as hard, but a few people are very, 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 very wealthy. And those people are out here acting like 10-year-olds. Like, I think it's still kind of crazy. Don't get me wrong, I'm super impressed by Nano Banana. I think it's incredible technology. It's such an insane feat, but you see this piece of technology come out that has massive implications. Like we can no longer tell what is real and what isn't, and people will use this in nefarious ways, and it is serious. It's really meaningful. Like it is a massive step forward, and we're calling it Nano Banana. This is something that will drive our parents crazy. This is something that will make us believe things that are not true. And we're treating it with like the seriousness of like, I don't know, a 3-year-old's birthday party. And I think there's something that's like really gross about the arrested development and the stakes of this current moment that like to all of the other points that we're talking about just show how deeply out of touch tech is and like how far removed from the rest of society we've become. And I think that that's like something worth like reflecting on because I think it's just kind of like, I don't know. I think a lot of us entered into this space because we were really excited about the like prosperity that we could go create for everybody. And I think like this feels different than that. Anyway, like really chill.
No, Mac, I
Really
love the
light,
rants.
really light.
I
Yeah,
love
no,
the
no, no.
rant. I think that like tech leaders are thoughtful and long-term oriented when it serves them to be, and right now no one believes that it is in their interest to think about reputation, to think about impact. Like the only way I can explain some of the behavior that's happening now is that like everyone believes the future is going to be decided in the next couple of years, and so all that matters is moving really fast and winning whatever the current maybe like AI arms race is. And so morality or like unintended consequence is just like out the window a little bit right now. And everyone's like fully on offense. And we'll see if that ends up being the timeline or if we're all paying the price for this in, 5-10 years or the next election cycle. Like I really do worry about the long-term reputational harm that a lot of these actions will have for the tech. And as an early stage investor, I'm like, by the time my companies are mature, what is going to be the climate that we're in? And so
I think it will be a reset. Yeah, I think about that too, Ashley. And like, I bet that there were conversations like this before the dot-com bust, right? Like pets.com as a concept, like kind of wild. Like, I'm not saying it's the silliness, level as we saw, but I think personally for me, my moment of sort of like disillusionment was a little bit earlier, which is why right now I'm like, whatever. I think for me, it was really like the NFT craze. It was truly like people I thought were very intelligent, right? Like people I looked up to my entire career going all in on monkey JPEGs. And I was like, okay, but when I worked at Facebook, the mission was to make the world more open and connected. And we were told to build something beyond ourselves, right? Like I was a very junior person who slept at my desk multiple nights because I thought that the contributions I made as like a lowly marketing manager were like essential to the future that Facebook was trying to build. Like that was like how tightly wound like the mission and like everybody's role was. And then those same people, who were like helping with the rally cries then were like going all in on NFTs. And like I think maybe I was a little closer to it because of my like fintech background, right? And it was like a closer bridge from fintech to crypto to the NFT craze. But like yeah, that was like a bubble bursting moment for me. So now I'm just sort of like, yeah, it's more of the same of that.
I love it. This took an unexpected twist, but
Totally. I saw on Twitter that there was a big announcement of a maybe Series C round that was led by an endowment. And I was sort of curious, like, oh, then what are we doing? What are VC firms even for? Like Lulu's Go Direct advice is now going to LPs. They're making, they're leading rounds.
I think this is common bubble behavior. Like and not something that I have personally paid attention to in prior cycles, but Helen, inspired by that, like, endowment going direct, saw a commentary on, yep, this happens whenever the market gets really hot. Like, other people come in and think they can do this, and no offense to that endowment, maybe they can, but a lot of endowments are not resourced to do direct investing in that way. And so we'll see. Although there was some, I wish I could remember this, there was some like pension fund, I think it was like Toronto Teachers Pension Fund.
Oh yes,
or something like that.
They've been active.
It's like in Anthropic, like in some like great companies that it did directly, and I'm like, you know what? Props to them, and may their teachers live long, prosperous lives. I'm all for it.
So it's Thanksgiving week, and we're doing the obligatory gratitude episode. And these can feel a little cheesy, but the reason why we're actually doing this is that the three of us, actually all five of us on the pod, have had pretty nonlinear careers. And so we've all left companies, started things, failed at things, ended up in venture from very different paths, left venture. And I think if you talked to any of us, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have predicted that we'd be where we are now. So the question to dig in today isn't so much like, what are you grateful for in the generic sense? It's more like, what or who actually shaped your trajectory in ways you didn't see coming and specifically the stuff you didn't appreciate at the time, that you can now sort of look back and see and actually feel thankful for, even if at the time it kind of sucked. And the first question is, what is one person who sort of changed everything for you? And you can name them or not name them. And they could be like a champion, you know, like an obvious mentor, or somebody who like gave you really harsh feedback that, you know, at the time was not well received, but now you're grateful for, or exactly, maybe it was exactly what you needed at the time. Well, maybe we'll start out with Ashley.
Oh my gosh.
Does anyone come to mind?
Changed everything.
Changed
like
everything.
Like if I don't say like my husband, I'm gonna be in trouble. But
I'm glad you said with your husband, because that's my mom. Like,
or my parents,
like,
or my dog.
Let's constrain it to careers, because I feel like we do a good job of not getting too off track, although we'll have a special episode just on that.
I'm gonna maybe use this opportunity to embarrass Hunter Walk of homebrew and screen door fame. And like there are a couple moments that are pretty poignant for me. One was that when I left Social Capital, I wanted out of venture. I wanted out of San Francisco. I moved across the country to New York. I worked in beauty, which was like the opposite of anything I'd ever done. And shortly after that, Hunter and then also Satya reached out and asked me to be like an advisor to homebrew. And I really liked them, respected what they were building. And so I said yes. And like that kind of kept me like connected to venture in a way that I don't think I would have otherwise been. And then like from there, eventually I started angel investing, I started scout investing, I raised Fund One. Hunter, and then through Hunter Satya were some of like the fastest yeses to invest, and you're like, I'll always be grateful for that. But then the other thing that was really helpful for me is I did this program in the early days of Coalition, when I was like building the plane while flying it and losing a lot of sleep over what I might not know. Did this program called Kaufman Fellows. It's a 2-year program, and one thing they make you do is you have to like pick a mentor and meet with them. I forget whether it was monthly or like every 2 months for the duration of the program. And like, I would never ask anyone to be my mentor. That feels like so cringe to me, but because I had to do it, I asked Hunter and he said yes. And it was actually like, I'm so grateful for that scaffolding, because there were so many things I either didn't know, or needed to like talk through with someone. And it was just easy because we already had these Zooms set up and like already had that relationship. And also he gave me some really great feedback on, I was getting a little too creative with some elements of the Coalition model. And he like reined me in at one point in a way where now I look back and I was like, what was I thinking? So anyway, so there are the people who like make a big show of wanting to support you, and there are people who just like show up again and again. And so he's done that for me in some like pretty key moments in my career. So thank you, Hunter.
Yay, friend of the pod.
Yay.
For sure.
Friend of the pod.
Mac, who comes to mind?
I joined Palantir in one role and then ended up switching to a different one. And it was all because of I genuinely don't. Titles were such a question mark thing there. They didn't really mean anything, but Marge was leading so much of like our strategy around how do we develop people, how do we hire people well. And I don't know, I genuinely don't even know how I ended up like getting connected with her or becoming close with her. But just those people who see something in you that you hadn't yet seen in yourself, and who are like, hey, this is great. Like, she was one of the first people in my career who did that for me, and ended up being like, hey, like, this seems to be going okay, but I think you could be doing like 10 times more over here. I really think you should consider doing that. Not only like pushed me to do it, but also like facilitated every single step. Like, how sometimes when you're young, like, you feel like you're banging your head against a wall trying to make something happen. And then also sometimes when you're young, you're like, oh, like if I want this thing, or if I'm vaguely thinking about this thing, it will just happen. And obviously that's not how it works. This was one of those things where I got like basically every single thing like spoon fed to me because this woman.
How old were you? Because you're hitting on something really, really specific that I think is very unique to tech, where you're given like an extraordinary amount of responsibility very young, but you're still sort of transitioning out of a very structured life of like, you know, high school, college. And then it's like, you think that there's a rubric and you're following it. And you're like, if I just follow the rubric, I'm going to get an A+. Like, you know, and I think that you're describing kind of like that exact moment. So were you young?
I think I must have been like, I don't think I was young enough to be thinking that way. I think I must have been like 24 or 25,
that's
something
young.
like that.
That's young.
Yeah.
I
I don't know about you. I was a baby at 24, so
yeah,
clearly
sure.
I was too. But I also meet so many 24 and 25-year-olds who are like, so much further ahead than I ever was, and I'm so deeply impressed by them all the time. So I just like, it's one of those things where I'll be constantly just being like, these guys really have their shit together in a way that I did not. And so, don't get me wrong. I mean, oh my God, like at least I wasn't that bad. But like, you know, so that was really meaningful. And in a way where it's like, again, like it's deeply flattering and so nice to be seen and to have someone push you in a direction where you then end up like, where they see something that like a pattern that you hadn't caught yet. That was awesome, because the work that I did after that was like so big and so exciting and so fun, and did feel much more aligned with my strengths. But then on top of that, not only have that, but to have someone more or less teach you like, here's all the steps you need to take. Because even though I wasn't the one actively leading those at the time, the lessons that I learned from the way that she handled it were so instrumental later on. Like, if you want to make a change, how do you make it? Like, how do you like get buy-in from multiple different people? How do you do it in a way that's like not necessarily super politically like, it was really cool.
I think it's super cool how like people early in your career like really disproportionately like make an impact on you. I tried to remember that when I was a manager of young people, where it was just like the experience I give them, they're gonna like hold with them forever in this way that I remember.
Really imprint.
Totally, because you're just like a sponge then, right? Like, and later
I still have
PTSD
sort of like from one of my bosses at Amazon. My God.
Oh yeah, good and bad. It imprints, but good and bad. So my answer to this question is a little different. Mine is somebody who maybe gave me a hard truth or just sort of like changed me very meaningfully. And at the time, so my person is Amy Sherman, and she was my EA, and she did this like 360, you know, sort of like review of me before, like as part of her own onboarding. When she and I met for the first time, she said, hey, so, you know, I collected feedback on you, like what it's like to work with you, like how you're perceived in the organization. It just helps me sort of like navigate. And I was like, what? And she shared with me, she's like, oh yeah, everybody thinks you're so smart and impressive and like, you know, very talented. But there's also this thing that came up pretty consistently, which is that like, you don't really need any help. And I was like, what do you mean? I need so much fucking help. What are you talking about? Right? She's like, well, there's this idea that like you have it all figured out. And so does your team. And that actually was like this really, really helpful feedback for me to hear, because I'm one of those people that I can be very buttoned up and not show you how hard things are. That has like been my superpower. And it was at that moment for the very first time that I considered that, wow, maybe doing that actually like is a disservice to my own team. Because imagine being on my team and you're trying to like get shit done, which as we all know in a large organization is like cross-functional relationships, like horse trading, like, you know, supporting one another. And if, you know, somebody on my team is trying to get something done and it's met with, well, you guys seem to have it all figured out, like that's really bad. And so it was like the very first time I reflected on this thing that I felt like led to, like, helped me get to where I, you know, was at that moment, but it was also going to hold me back from like where I was going. And that was when I was like, I never considered like actually sharing my vulnerability or sharing that, yeah, things are really fucking hard for me actually. Right. And I still think of that as like truly like career course altering feedback that I am so grateful for and continue to be like, you know, as I keep moving through my career. So at the moment I remember feeling crushed and like not really understanding why she was sharing it. And now I am absolutely just so grateful. So happy to share that story. Okay. So then the second question is like a setback that you're now grateful for? Maybe it was like a job that you really wanted that you didn't get. Maybe it was getting fired. Maybe it was like, you know, something that a track that you were on that didn't end up working out through no fault of your own, but now you're like so happy that it didn't actually work out the way that you wanted. Does anything like that come to mind?
I think because I was lucky that my first startup job like ended up being like a 6 year ride and like ended an IPO, and I felt like I had like a lot of impact and influence and built an amazing team, and like, you know, just really was kind of a magical experience. I've always looked for that with every subsequent role, and I didn't get that fully with Social Capital and at Glossier when I was 3 years in. Half of those 3 years in the pandemic, I was just like deeply, deeply, deeply burnt out. I also knew that it like wasn't the right fit. Like I missed technology, and but I felt really stuck, and I felt really like I wanted that narrative arc. I wanted that journey again, and also felt like deep, deep loyalty to the team. And so leaving was really hard. And I was lucky that I could leave that job without having my next one lined up. So I like focused on hiring my replacement, like getting things as good as I could before I left, but really left with like no plan for what I would do next aside from some consulting, and which is not, you know, it's not like the beautiful send off that you want for yourself, or the perfect like narrative for Twitter or LinkedIn, as we've talked about previously. But in hindsight, I'm so grateful that I was in that state and had the like economic flexibility to like, you know, not have my next thing lined up, because without that, I'm sure I would have gone into like another comms job or something that was a little bit more linear. And instead I ended up taking enough time that I accidentally raised a venture fund and completely shifted my career. So I think like really amazing things can come out of like uncertain times and limbo times, and giving yourself space. And so I'm grateful that I did not have the sort of trajectory and send off and, you know, have everything sort of like all tied up with a bow, because it forced me to spend some time exploring other things.
Amazing. Okay, I have a different question for Mac. So is there like an unfair advantage that you're grateful for that you don't really talk about? Like something that you're thankful for, and have honest gratitude for, like that could be in the category of like privilege or luck.
We can't just talk about what a hottie Mac is.
Yeah. You're like, well, I was blessed.
Blonde hair.
My genes.
You know, the blonde hair isn't natural, right? Like we're really clear about that. That's not an unfair advantage. That's one I pay for. I'm also not sure it's an advantage. This is so funny. Helen is asking this because we talked about this earlier, but I was saying how it seemed kind of insane that so many amazing things in my career have happened just because like truly, like I spend so much time trying to like architect every single moment of my life to like add up to like long-term goals. And yet like most of the like incredible opportunities that I've had have happened because like I was at the right party or the right dinner at the right time, and not like a networking dinner. Like,
hello, great chat dinner.
Exactly. Great chat dinners. That's one of my examples. These friendships have been so helpful for me beyond the pod, even like professionally. Like we were just talking about how I call you guys both on a regular basis now that I'm doing more comms work, because I have no idea what the shit I'm doing. Like it's been very awesome and very exciting. But I think this is one of those things where, too, I think it comes back to some of the questions that we've asked in prior episodes around, like, you know, startup cities, like, do they matter? Like, yes and no. But one of the ways in which, yes, like, I met my now boss at a dinner actually, I think at like a dinner party. I remember there was this one time where we had this like really big blocker for a launch that we were trying to do at Brex, and it got resolved because I happened to meet the person who I had been cold emailing for 6 weeks in a row out in Presidio Heights at the park. This sort of thing, it's just the life will throw you these random things. And by going out and having it's just a good reminder, go out and have a social life, because you never know what professional things it will unlock to have that.
Totally. I mean, I think that there's so much power in sharing that part of your path. I mean, like, especially for you, Mac, like even acknowledging that luck played a role.
Oh, huge.
Is really important. Because when we think about like why we started the podcast, why we share these stories, right? It was to help people who are also just sort of like maybe feeling stuck or like wondering, if they're approaching a pivot and like sort of how to navigate those moments. And so something I've been thinking about for planning this episode is sort of like, we're sharing all these stories and what we're grateful for, but like, how do you pay like that luck factor forward? Or how do you like pay some of these like lessons that we've learned forward? And that's hard because you can't like lecture somebody into reminding them how lucky they are and how much privilege they have and how like people have so much less and they do, more with that. And so you should be, it's a very hard conversation. But I was thinking about something that people turn to me very often for, which is like shaping their personal narrative when they're leaving a job, whether they're taking time off or they're changing jobs. And something that I remind them is that like, even though you're feeling really exposed and sort of nervous in this moment, that you can create any story looking at the rear view mirror, and you can make it sound extremely intentional. Like, well, then of course I would take this job because it would lead me to this other thing, right? Like you can tell that story with so much confidence and conviction at a future time. So even though you feel like I feel the need to explain these moves, right? Like our episode on like, when knowing when to quit, right? You're the only person who's feeling that way or thinking that way about yourself. And so, yeah, so that first thing is like, you can create any story in the rear view mirror and make it sound really intentional. And the second is that no one really knows all the luck and coincidence and frankly, like mistakes it took to get exactly where you are. And those are your stories to share. And I share them very liberally one-on-one. And also this podcast has been kind of cool because I get to like share all these mistakes I've made and for the very first time in many cases too. And so, I don't know. I feel like the luck thing can be uncomfortable, right? Because most of us, like, we're spending most of our time out there, like, trying to present ourselves as very confident and capable in our roles. And, I think luck and being at the right place at the right time, like you said, Mac, has been such an important part of all of our stories.
I mean, one thing you learn is that talking about things that were hard or where you got a lucky break, like when it's in the past, is actually the biggest show of strength, right? Like if you are in this amazing position and you say, oh yeah, like I got here because I checked all the boxes and I'm amazing, that is like way less compelling than like, I got this lucky break and then this happened. And like, it actually just makes you so much more interesting and someone people want to root for, and is like, again, like a show of strength to acknowledge that there's so much randomness behind any great career story. And so I love when people do that. I think it's like, the more successful you are, I think the bigger the obligation to be honest about how you got there and the bigger impact that can have for people. And so so I think that's, I guess we don't get a ton of that these days. I don't know. There's a lot of chest thumping right now. But I think when people do share those like crazy stories, they tend to really break through. And so if you're someone who's lucky to have ascended to a place of, envy or desire, like it's truly one of the coolest things you can do. Don't be vulnerable while you're in it. Not publicly, yes. Only with your friends. But when it's in the rear view mirror, that's the time.
Totally. Yes. Perfect. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm thankful for you guys.
Thankful for the pod and our audience.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in. All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you for listening to Great Chat. Have questions for us? Be sure to submit them at anothergreatchat.com. See you next week.